Hi, hope you guys are doing well. It's time for my review of episode 8 of House of the Dragon, Lord of the Tides. As always, I'm gonna tell you what I liked about the episode, what I didn't like, and in the end I'll give it an overall rating from 1 to 10. So let's start right at the beginning. We had another time jump of 6 years, and this was pretty much the amount of time that I've been waiting for Rhaenys Targaryen to shine. And she absolutely does in this episode. Eve Best delivers a great performance. I think it really sets the tone for this entire episode. It was all about succession. Of course, with Corlys Velaryon being wounded and ill, Aemond Velaryon was pushing the matter of succession even more. Not gonna lie, when he told Rhaenys that the winds are shifted, I was kind of expecting her to drop the iconic words are wind. We had the Mummers Farce, we had Mayhaps. I guess we will still have to wait for words are wind. We then continue with a couple of scenes at Dragonstone, and I really like how that island looked. It felt very much alive, and I really like that because it is of course a volcanic island. I really like Harry Collett's Jacaerys Velaryon. It's always great when you give a character room to develop, and this war will definitely make a man out of him. Daemon, of course, receives a letter from Driftmark, from his daughter Baela, and they're heading off to King's Landing. A lot has changed. The Greens are ruling Westeros now, and Queen Alicent Hightower has taken Viserys' place at the small council, and Otto Hightower effectively rules the Seven Kingdoms. We then see Viserys for the very first time, and I really like how they did that. I really like how the camera pans out, and we only get to hear him at first. We get to hear the pain in his voice, heavy breathing, and Daemon can't even look at him at first. The scene that follows with Viserys meeting Viserys for the very first time was very wholesome. It was so hard to see Viserys' face when he was smiling. A name fit for a king, and yes indeed, book readers will know. And we then follow it up with two crazy ones. Aegon II is a rapist. I was kind of expecting them to go that route after they spent a lot of time emphasizing on his relationship with the serving girls. So I was kind of expecting that, but I wasn't expecting it this soon. You won't see me complaining about character development here though, because I don't have to spend 5 episodes seeing a character develop into a piece of shit. A rapist is a rapist, so fuck that guy. I really like how they handled Alicent's reaction though. I like that she showed compassion towards the girl. People like to compare Alicent to Cersei, but in this case I don't think they're doing her justice here. If you go back to season 2 of Game of Thrones, when Joffrey was brutalizing Ross, it's a very different reaction. Alicent straight up tells Aegon that he's not her son. She's disgusted by him, and it was also very sad to see Helaena. She is just such a tragic character, but we'll talk more about her later. We then get to the moment that I've been waiting for weeks, for months, pretty much ever since they announced it. Ewan Mitchell's Aemond Targaryen. I think it's perfect. His whole demeanor, the way it was introduced, I really like that they showed us Aemond through the POV of both Jace and Luke. It should terrorize us just as much as it did these two. Aemond, of course, became a very good swordsman under the guidance of Criston Cole, and we'll definitely see more of that. That is for certain. The next scene that I just absolutely loved was the one between Rhaenyra and Viserys. I really liked how that played out. I really liked how Rhaenyra was questioning herself and how Viserys couldn't help her in this moment. She tells him, "I thought I wanted it, but the burden is a heavy one. If you want me to bear it, then defend me." Well, and that he did, with everything he had left to give. So let's talk about what is, in my opinion, one of the best scenes of both House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones combined. The scene in the throne room. Let's just start right at the beginning. I really like how the camera once again panned out from above, and we could see the greens and the blacks divided in front of the Iron Throne. Aemond, of course, made his petition, and when Rhaenyra was ready to make hers, Viserys enters the throne room. And everything that follows is just beautiful. The shock of the greens, the music of Ramin Djawadi, like this mix between the Targaryen theme and the King's Arrival, the Robert Baratheon one. Viserys' look at Rhaenyra when he was struggling to even get to the Iron Throne. The way he then refuses help and then his crown falls off, and Daemon is helping him, and they both together walk up to the throne, and Daemon puts the crown on his head. It's just perfect. I can't seem to find any other word for this scene. It's just perfect. It also just gets you thinking. Obviously, we've been joking about that whole 10 years scene for a couple of weeks now on our podcast, but it really makes you think, what if Daemon really was Viserys' right-hand man? a lot would have been different. Viserys of course does not change the line of succession. This of course makes Aemond Velaryon very angry, and I like how Viserys stood up once more and how he drew his catspaw dagger. Of course Daemon finished that job because it's just Daemon, and that is just the definition of fuck around and find out. Viserys then collapsed onto the throne, and he's still not done fighting. And he says as much when he talks to Alicent and tells her that he needs to make things right. And this whole attempt, this dying man giving everything he has left, is just so incredibly heartwarming to watch. I love the very first scene of that family dinner. This is just identical to that one famous artwork, which must be intentional, and then again just goes to show how much love and care is being taken into this show. And yet again, I really liked Viserys' last speech. I liked how he revealed himself, how he allowed everyone to see him. I loved the way he delivered the speech. He was half crying through most of it. And when Helaena and Jace were dancing, this is once again one of those what if moments. And I think in Viserys' mind, it all worked out, and I think he found peace in that moment. Helaena is also just such a tragic factor in this whole dance, now that they've made her a dreamer as well. Well, and then Aemond. Brilliant. Just brilliant. I gotta contain myself because I know I keep coming across as a green supporter, which I'm definitely not, but I can't lie. I'm pretty hyped for Aemond. He is one of my favorite characters of the entire dance, and I really like how they're handling him. I like how fascinated he is by Daemon, and I think this will make for such a cool dynamic. Obviously, it's like this copy and paste thing that like a lot of people online are talking about, like this is just wish.com Daemon, but I actually like it because he has his own intrigue, and that alone, I can't wait for season 2 Aemond. And he's gonna have a couple of scenes later on in this season as well that are just gonna be iconic. So yeah, once again, we're gonna talk about it on the podcast. We then have 2 more scenes. Mysaria, it was not Daemon, it was not Aemond, it was Talia, I believe her name is. She is working for Alicent, but in reality she's working for Mysaria. So Mysaria is spying on the crown pretty much. And I hope we get something cool with that, and rather soon, because we are moving pretty fast with the source material and important stuff is pretty close now. Once again, I hope they will up her level. And now last but not least, of course, Viserys and Alicent Hightower at the end. Viserys dying. And that talk of prophecy. Was it all a misunderstanding? Is this House of the Dragon's very own Robert's Rebellion was built on a lie kind of bullshit? I don't think so. Even when you take that moment of Alicent and Rhaenyra embracing each other at the family dinner, the war would still have happened. The kids Aemond and Aegon both know about it. They were talking about it in episode 7 already, and that was years ago, so this plot has been going on since forever. Also, Hightower would have seen to it. I just took it as Alicent reassuring herself before she is doing these horrible acts, which is very human. She is building her own front so she can live with it, and I think it'll also help with the Lords of Westeros, who all swore an oath to Rhaenyra. It might help them to make turncloaks out of them, and I don't think it's another Robert's Rebellion was built on a lie kind of scenario. I don't think it is all a misunderstanding. I don't think it's that typical trope. I just think it adds to Alicent and how she as a character deals with the Dance of the Dragons. That's just how I interpreted it. So all things considered, all in all, this episode was a masterpiece. From beginning to the very end, there wasn't a scene that didn't connect with me emotionally. The new actors were all very good, with Ewan Mitchell's Aemond being a big highlight for me. This episode was just a big, beautiful send-off to King Viserys Targaryen. Paddy Considine deserves all the Emmys in the world. House of the Dragons Viserys Targaryen is just so much better than the one we got to know in the source material, which is actually something that George R. R. Martin was talking about. He was teasing about for months, and he was definitely right. This is just so much better than it was in the books. The throne room sequence as a whole is just a favorite of mine now. I think I watched this in 10 years and I still couldn't get enough of that. That whole tension, the entire atmosphere of this episode was just perfect. We have 2 more episodes now, and if they're even close to being this good, then we are blessed. So this is gonna be a premiere. I give episode 8 of House of the Dragon a 10 out of 10. And that is all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please consider subscribing, would very much appreciate that. And until then, take care and see us later.